Okay. Have we read the previous minutes? I think they were distributed in email, as I recall. What? Does anyone have any comments? Or would someone like to move that the minutes be accepted?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as reported.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Firelight first.
All right, so where are we with Firelight?
Okay, so I went through everything that's been submitted recently. There was the evacuation plan, a flood novi certification study, a revised site plan that showed some changes, a draft resolution granting conditional final site plan approval and special use permit approval, and a response to our comments that were issued and dated June 4th. And the comments that I offer on all those submittals include, at the public hearing, we had it on May 12th, we discussed a maximum capacity of 444 people. And then at the previous workshop, we discussed a maximum number of 480 people. So I wanted to put before the board a decision on that number.
And it was at the workshop a couple of weeks ago. I remember that discussion.
Yeah.
And the concerns we raised had to do with the resultant potential for traffic based on the different head count.
Yes.
So is it appropriate for me to put a question to the applicant?
Yep.
How many people? What's the head count?
Right, so, I think there was a conversation during the public hearing about the occupancy in the tents, and I had to run to my car and get the computer and stuff. The answer to that was 244 guests that are occupants of the tents. And then there was a second question about the occupancy of the event area. The event area is sized for 200 guests, so those two classes of occupancy together sum up to the 444. That's the number that was discussed. That does not include the occupancy of the lobby, which is has a food and beverage operation and lobby seating and stuff. If you were to include that occupancy at its sewer rating capacity, like what the site could physically handle, that's where you get up to the 604 occupants. And then, to my understanding, in the discussion that ensued in the workshop, most recent workshop, we agreed that 480 would be a number that is significantly less than the 604 and gives us a cushion under the number of persons that would require an on-site paramedic and stuff like that. So our hope, suggestion is that we have the cap at 480.
Okay, so the lobby and the food and beverage, which was 160 on top of the 444,
Correct.
that's the number that becomes lower.
That's so the total, we're suggesting just a total cap on the number of persons on property across the uses of 480.
Okay.
So that would blend those three classes of uses in the tents, at the event area, and
And you got simultaneous occupancies, okay.
Thank you.
I have a question. Who's going to count the number of people on site? I mean, is that going to be monitored?
I think, was that? Yeah, so I think that to the extent of guests in tents and invited attendees to an event, I think those are numbers that we'll know.
Right.
I think in the event that we're ever getting close to anything like those numbers, that we would monitor it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So then you would be adding additional people coming in
We're not-
from outside to get past the 444,
Right.
theoretically.
Yes, in that right. I mean, it's to what we were saying before. It is an unlikely set of circumstances where we would have that many people on property. It's like, I think that would only come about during a specific event when we knew something was happening like that, and during such a event we would make sure that we didn't exceed the occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board regarding the number of people on the site?
Well, there are several other large venues in town. Do any of them have a sign that says occupancy limited to X? No. I think we're discussing an imaginary number here, which, meaningless number. Like, what's the capacity of this building? Well, we could put 500 everywhere, fill up every nook and cranny, possibly. But that's what we're talking about here with Firelight. It's a number that'll probably never be come up with, and plus there's no enforcement.
All right. So,
But it would be, any place of assembly would have an occupancy load placard placed somewhere visible. At the event tent, you have to have an occupancy load calculated based on how many chairs, size, square foot.
Howie, do they do that when they had the Festival of the Voice?
No, I have
No.
not seen that happen.
I mean, there was no plaque somewhere that says 500 people, that's it.
That would become more of a, it's only a temporary situation. It would be more like an event permit so far that I see. We only have that for occupancies above 500 people.
Oh, okay. Because I know that they had quite a few people that did. I don't know now.
all right, so if I may ask Ellen, with the clarification that we're talking 480 persons, can we move forward?
We'll just add that to, the conditional approval of an empty spot. Okay, so then the next item up was the floodway analysis, and, a professional water resource engineer from our office reviewed it and had a number of comments, and Mark has joined us tonight, and he can go over the comments if the board would like.
My understanding was that, I think I saw the word deficiencies in the analysis?
Additional, studies need to be. an
Additional
analysis
studies needed, okay.
needs to be performed.
How do we listen to Mark? Who's got the technology for that? We'll hear him from here?
If you, yeah, if you're not on, he shouldn't have any feedback.
I muted this, so I didn't get feedback here, but
Let's hear him, let's see what happens.
Mark, can you hear us? Can't hear you. Yes. Pump up the volume.
It's just, because you're better with
If
that.
I can mute it, it'll be better.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to, the feedback's coming from.
Alright.
So Mark, if you can hear me, Ellen has asked you to talk to us about your analysis of the floodplain. Try again. Now. Ellen, what do we want to ask Mark to do?
Mark, I was mentioning the floodplain analysis and the divisions, the additional studies that we studied.
So floodplain analysis and your opinion on additional studies.
Oh.
Hold on, Mark, we're increasing the volume here.
No, it's not on the screen.
the structures, would receive flood waters during floods. In other words, underneath these structures, even though the structures are raised up above the level of today's flood, they have frost braces underneath, and those have to be considered during a flood of the magnitude like Irene. The flood that is considered during a floodway analysis is the base flood, not the 100-year flood. And those elevated structures, you have to consider whether or not they would be catching debris and further causing encroachments within the floodway. So that was our recommendation, and the applicant was going to pursue that hydraulic analysis to ensure no rise, and then that would get submitted to the code enforcement officer, who would need to review it and agree with its findings, and we'll review it as part of that process as well. Before I go on to the other topic, which was the evacuation plan, are there any questions about the no rise requirement?
All right, so I know this, allow me to just. Getting so much feedback. So the engineer is saying that the calculations need a little bit more work to demonstrate no rise.
That's correct.
So please.
Yes, understood and agreed. We have hired another engineering firm to do exactly the analysis that Mark is describing, the hydraulic analysis. I would just clarify that the floodplain, that the no-rise certificate is going to be submitted to the floodplain administrator, and that would be a prerequisite to the floodplain development permit, on which the approvals proposed would be conditioned. So this issue of the additional proof that the moving floodwaters will not result in a rise upstream or down is really it's a component of the no-rise certificate, which is itself a component of the floodplain development permit, on which the approval of the site plan and special permit is conditioned, if that's clear. And yeah, so it wouldn't be, and it would be the floodplain administrator and not the code enforcement officer, I believe, who would accept that.
So I've turned off my volume. I'm getting feedback here. I'm muted there and I'm muted here. So what does it mean in terms of being able to move forward that we need to do further, after he needs further work to do on their calculations?
Right, so, a condition of the approval, the conditional approval, is that they obtain the floodplain development permit. So in order to obtain that permit, they'll have to go through the rigorous analysis.
Now, when you say improve, are you referring to the secret process?
No, that's completed.
Talking about our site, the special use permit?
Right, yes, the, site plan and special use permit approvals.
Howard, can we do that without this analysis? Can we vote to approve a special permit?
I can't make that decision because I'm not a floodplain manager, but I think we would probably need that, but Rob would be the one to answer that.
Right.
So
What's been the experience of the board for special permits where we've got construction in the floodway? It's a very sensitive, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, we have the conditions that are drafted are drafted with the specific conditions that they are conditioned subsequent to the approval. If we don't get through that floodplain development permit process, we can't go forward.
Understood.
So, I mean, we'd be done anyway. So, I think you can condition the approvals on all the things that we have here, right? That it's done routinely, in other towns.
And I'm thinking back to an earlier case, not on the other side of the Esopus, but that might have been a little bit different. What else is there that we need to consider before we can think about the special use permit approval?
So the next item is that there's a number of standards for flood development for the flood fringe overlay district that our review of the evacuation.
That's the other topic he wanted to talk about. All right, let's try to listen to Mark. It's going to be fun.
Sorry.
No, I don't know why it's happening, the feedback, but there it is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mark.
Hit the remote, that's
I'm
what
trying to be
that is.
succinct here and get to the point.
Use our mute on the remote.
So, but, you know, we reviewed the evacuation plan, and we generally found it to be what we had envisioned. Kind of multiple parts to consider if there would be a flood. The one area I wanted to comment on had to do with the elevations at which the different stages of evacuation are triggered. And for that, I would recommend that the applicant look at the gauge at a storm front during the Irene flood, because the 9-foot threshold that you identify as elevated flood risk condition with possible evacuation, during Irene that occurred at 4:15 in the morning, and an hour later, the water was 11 feet high, which would trigger an actual evacuation. And an hour later, 6:15 a.m., it was 13.6 feet high. And by 7:10, it was 15.8 feet high. So my point is that the water, once it hits that threshold, rises very, very high and a flood. So I would just encourage you to maybe have those triggers occur earlier at a lower threshold elevation. You know, and understand we're also monitoring the weather and that this is a very infrequent event. But I thought just with an abundance of caution, have those triggers occur earlier. And that was really my only reaction on the evacuation plan.
Okay, so it sounds, what I'm going to recap, sounds like the protocol for triggering an evacuation, the consultant has recommended you take another look at that. Maybe 9 feet is waiting too long. Any opinion?
Agreed. We've updated our evacuation plan to add a trigger at 8 feet above at the Colebrook monitoring station, and that would trigger the earliest warning to the guests. So in this updated plan, it's exactly the same as was previously submitted. Our first warning to the guests was previously only triggered by an issuance of a flood advisory by the National Weather Service, and we've added a second trigger to that advisory to the guests of a rising water level of higher than 8 feet at the Esopus Creek USGS Colebrook monitoring station. And I have copies of updated plan for the board.
Thank you.
All right, so floodplain analysis, there's some work to be done. Looks like the applicant is taking already into consideration the idea of different protocols for the evacuation. We've got an occupancy number. Were there any other conditions?
I'll just share the other two comments. At the workshop, the Firelight team submitted a revised site plan. They removed the permanent garage near the entryway and put 2 tiny homes and added additional space to the lobby and the event tent supporting building. And there were no comments during the workshop, and I don't have any additional comments on that.
Do you all recall those changes?
Yeah.
Anyone have heartburn about any of that or concern?
No.
And then the final comment was, the county planning department had commented on the ability of the entryway to, bear the weight of an emergency vehicle. And, the applicant has committed to backfilling having 12 inches of compacted backfill and then hiring a certified testing laboratory, to ensure that it can accommodate an H20 loading, which would be sufficient for emergency vehicles. So if the board is satisfied with that, I don't have any comments on that. And then we can turn to the conditional approval, and I can just run through that from SHPO regarding historic and archaeological resources, and that came in yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So I removed that condition. They're going to pay all their fees and escrows, file all the decisions, complete the building permit application. The big one is the issuance of the floodplain development permit. And that will include, meeting the standards of the flood fringe overlay district, and updating the evacuation plan, sufficiently. They'll also be obtaining, public water supply approvals from Department of Health. Sewage disposal review from DEP and DOH. The stormwater permit from DEC. Curb cut permit from, Ulster County Department of Public Works. And just coordinating, with the town on any information that's required.
All right, now, am I looking at is this the right document? Okay. So procedurally, I know we may want to have a conversation about it, but after we've had a chance to talk about this amongst the board, does this need to be read into the record, or?
We should,
So we should,
right? I mean, everything Alan just said, though, I can read it in the record.
whatever's the right thing to do, I want, my goal is to move forward, stand up to reasonable scrutiny in the future.
I think it's a good opportunity for the world to hear what it says.
You can read it in, or the board members can all acknowledge that they've read it and they understand it, and then, you know.
It will be in the minutes, you know, it will
Okay.
be added to the minutes.
So, what's the pleasure of the board?
I think it's straightforward, and I've read it. I have one little question, it's more curiosity than anything else, which is, what is the significance of the low-strength concrete encasing the sewer and utilities?
We have a response?
The low-strength concrete is called K-Crete. It's used frequently in utility construction where we're doing water sewer separation, or we're trying to strengthen things from the perspective of loads, or in this case, potential water damage. So what it is it's basically it's flowable fill. It's a concrete that doesn't have reinforcement. And what it would do is if, say, a force main or a water line where it crosses an area that could flood and soil gets eroded away, it'll basically protect the pipe. So we don't have to worry about the pipe breaking and washing away.
But why specifically low strength? It's that term that I don't
Because
understand.
you wouldn't normally use a 4,000 PSI reinforced concrete. That's something you would use to basically build a building foundation.
Okay.
Or something like that. So what this is, basically what it is, it's gonna create a mass of concrete that's not gonna get damaged, that's gonna protect against flood waters, but if we ever had to go and do it, let's just say a normal water or sewer repair is removable as opposed to having to, jackhammer out reinforced concrete with reinforced steel.
Okay, I
But
understand.
it's frequently used, we use it a lot, it's available locally,
Flowable.
we use it in a lot of utility installation.
Mhm.
It's typically a lot of municipal projects.
Okay.
Well, I've also taken a look at this, and I'm satisfied. We filled in the blank with the 480 persons. How's the rest of the board feel about the document?
That's fine.
Okay, so I think we can preclude the need to read it in full. It'll be added to the documents.
Yes.
What is our next step?
Motions to accept it.
May I have a motion to accept this document?
Motion to accept the document submitted by Ellen.
I'll second it.
Cliff Lupo, Art Christie, Joanne Cobb,
Yes.
John Horn,
Yes.
Alan Shiner.
I think he's a guest, but I don't know if we can hear him, because I see alley 103. So I don't know what to do.
You can't unmute, is he muted?
Alan Shine, are you there?
Vivian Welton,
Yes.
Sam Spada.
Yes.
Yes.
So, that's it.
Okay. Anything else on Firelight?
So, their special use permit
So we talked, yeah, this was the conditional, so now do we have to talk about the special use permit and vote on that?
Yeah, I think the vote, was on both. I think you're good. I think
We're all good?
fine.
Yeah, I could skip.
Pardon my ignorance, I just want to make sure we do the right thing here.
Well, we thank the board for all of its time and efforts on this project. So,
Very exciting.
you
Thank
guys,
you so much. We're super excited.
I'll be back 2 weeks from now, just out of habit.
All righty.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, what's next?
Well, we don't need, we don't need this Teams anymore, right?
Right.
So you can say goodnight to him.
I just texted him.
Good night, Mark.
I might say that.
And I'm going to close the MS Teams. If anybody else is listening, good night.
Okay, Orem.
So the Forum team submitted a timber rattlesnake habitat suitability impact assessment and proposed avoidance mitigation plan. We circulated to the board, I hope you had a chance to take a look at it.
Yes.
I felt that they did a very thorough job. If there are a number of cautions that are going to be taken, for safety during construction and, to protect the endangered threatened species. So during construction, these measures will include employing a timber rattlesnake monitor to survey the site, educating all workers present on site regarding identification and proper safety procedures, installing a snake barrier around any active construction areas if a timber rattlesnake is encountered. And then during operation of the facility, the primary approach would be to educate all workers regarding the timber rattlesnake. And then I suggested that a few statements be added to your plans regarding precautions to take during construction. These were provided to us from UC, including stop work immediately if a timber rattlesnake is encountered, move away from the snake and leave it alone, contact Region 3 Bureau of Wildlife, and do not stop work until the timber rattlesnake is left or the department's representative has granted approval to proceed.
Those will be items in your email,
Yeah, in the comment letter.
and so we will amend this report to include it.
So I think they would be best on the site plan or construction plans. Just ask that you keep us updated on your permit approvals from the different agencies. And then finally, wanted to know if a permit has been submitted or is going to be submitted to Army Corps for any disturbance to the drainage ditch at the entrance of the property.
Well, we are, those applications will be submitted, they may be nationwide permits.
Right.
But yes, we'll make a notification and copy the town on all those.
Alan?
Yes.
The monitor, is that a constant monitoring, or is that a survey that happens at the beginning?
Before construction begins, would be committed to, and then occasionally during construction.
Okay. I'm just thinking if somebody was going to be on site, they could tell whether the snake had actually left, because sometimes it's kind of hard to tell where the snake is,
Right.
so,
Yeah, they don't want to come out and say hi.
no.
All right, so we have protocol for construction and protocols for guests to follow with regard to the timber rattlesnake.
Yes. And then, the issue that's recently come up is that the county Department of Public Works, hadn't received the secret documentation for this project. They requested to see it, because they were concerned about potential traffic impacts. So the applicant has sent all of the materials to the county, but we haven't received a, comment from the county yet. So my suggestion was to issue a conditioned negative declaration on seeker, if you're comfortable moving forward with a negative declaration on seeker. And the condition would be that they respond satisfactorily to all of the county's comments when they're received.
Before we discuss that as a board, please help me understand. So I've got a notice of determination of non-significance and the condition negative declaration. Are we taking action on both of those?
Yes, one is the resolution, I believe, and one is the actual condition negative declaration.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the order would be this one first?
Yes.
The non-significance?
Yes.
Okay. So, board members, thoughts, opinions?
I have a
Concerns?
question, I've lost track of the rattlesnakes. How far away are the rattlesnakes from any construction?
Well, the dens are off the site, so they're multiple thousand, not the actual number. Did you want to, hang on, let me just take a look at the actual
How
number.
close is any construction to the rattlesnake?
No,
4 miles.
no,
But I mean feet. like
Several
how many-
thousand.
several thousand.
It's basically a buffer to the habitat. So in the instance or in case a rattlesnake emerges closer to the construction, we have a protocol to stop work, make sure that everyone on site, the construction workers, are educated on what to do. If they see one, who to call, what to do, stop work, maintain a distance, but keep an eye on it, that sort of thing. So it's a protocol in the case that it happens.
The rattlesnakes do move a good distance from the den, so that's why DEC called the town initially with concerns.
And that is much more likely on the steeper slope portions of the site where there was originally development plan. And the developer agreed to move all the development down to the area where the prior development occurred. So we're not on any of the sloped areas where the occurrence is more likely than not, than less likely. So it's very clearly a mitigation plan. That's always the first principle is to avoid and then mitigate. And so moving the site is the major avoidance. And then because they might appear in the areas where we're going, all the other measures are taken on that chance. They might just appear. I just want to take one thing on the DPW comment. Waiting for DPW comments is what is being recommended. We just wanted to point out that in the neg deck, the consultants have reviewed the circumstance and they have issued in the proposed negative declaration that there is no traffic problem on that street and that adequate capacity is there. So we're dealing with DPW to see what questions they might have, but the board is making its own determination, has the authority to make that determination with its consultant, that there is no significant.
Thank you, Matt. And remind me, what's the total number of guests and employees?
Well, it's the 24 rooms, and the employees, I don't recall the number of employees.
About 12 for the hotel.
That's 48, 60, and then you might have some people at the restaurant?
Yeah, but those are, these things are measured in peak hours and not in full average daily traffic. So the peak hours are spread out in this kind of a property.
Right.
Because it's transient, people are coming and going. So it isn't like a mall or a housing development.
They're coming at different staggered times, understood. Okay, I needed,
Capacity of the road.
thank you, that was helpful. Are there any other concerns or questions before we move on to considering the motion to approve these?
Are we required to make a determination on our position on traffic, or are we leaving it to DPW unless we want to make a position?
I think we've made it known that we want to make sure that Plank Road traffic is adequate, that the road can handle it, and we've made the referral to the people who have the competence to make the judgment.
So we're waiting to find out what they say then.
As a condition, if we find out bad news, which is unlikely, then that condition comes into play.
It's a criteria that you have to consider under seeker, the impacts of traffic.
Okay.
DPW did take a look at the Firelight project and didn't have concerns regarding traffic for that project.
That's a lot more people.
And it's
Yeah.
a lot larger, so that may be an indication of where they'll head, but, I don't know, I can't say.
And if I may add, of course, the secret threshold is that it's a significant adverse impact. It doesn't mean no impact.
Correct.
It means significant adverse impact.
If there was no impact, why develop it? Does anyone have any other questions or concerns, anything they'd like to bring to the applicant's attention? Okay, so is our next step to call for a motion to approve first the notice of determination of non-significance?
Yes, and if you're concerned about the wording on the traffic impact, I think it's on page 3, if you wanted to look at the language that's in there.
You make me put on my glasses.
Page 3 of the resolution.
I think, yes, right?
Stormwater and vegetation are on my page 3.
Maybe it's page 2, let me grab it.
I changed the page numbers, remember?
Oh, you changed the
Yeah,
page
page 3
numbers.
is just the signature.
Page numbers have been altered.
Okay, it's page 2, and it's the third paragraph down in the ND1 section.
Gotcha, thank you. All right, I'll put it to the board. May we have a motion to approve and accept this notice of determination of non-significance?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Clifford Buffo, Art Christie, Joanne Calb,
Yes.
John Horn,
Yes.
Alan Shiner, Sam Spada,
Yes.
Vivian Welton.
Yes.
All right.
All right, so do we now then move on to the condition negative declaration?
Yeah.
Doesn't the resolution adopt the declaration?
What?
Doesn't the resolution adopt the negative
Yeah.
declaration? So you're only acting on just the resolution?
Yes.
I'm acting on a paper that's in front
So
of me.
this was to read, and then the resolution is to adopt.
Okay, so we don't need to take a motion and a vote on the second page, the second piece of paper, which is the condition negative deck. This first one says notice of determination of non-significance. That's what I
Right.
just asked for a motion
Yeah,
on.
I think that you should do
That's
both.
done.
Yes. 'Cause
I
there's-
did not ask for a motion on the condition neg deck, so do I need to do that?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I'm sorry.
I'm like used to being at home on the computer.
I know. What do you need?
Anyone?
I make a motion to accept the negative declaration.
May I have a second?
Second.
Clifford Buffo, Art Christie, Joanne Calb,
Yes.
John Horn,
Yes.
Alan Shiner, Sam Spada.
Yes.
Vivian Welton.
Yes.
Okay, so now you can refer them to county too?
Referral to county.
Can do.
Your referral to county, and
Mhm.
you can do a public hearing for next, now that you have a neg deck, you can set up a public hearing.
For the site
For the
plan,
site
and special use
All right,
permit.
shall we do that? The next public hearing, which would be again the second, oh, that's gonna, is that?
Yeah.
It's not the week of the 4th, it's a week after, it's around the 14th or so, I think, of July, if memory serves.
July 14th.
Yeah,
Okay.
Week of the 12th is the second.
Right, so July 14th is our meeting, and will the applicant be prepared on the 14th for public hearing?
Yes.
So the public hearing is for special use permit and site plan approval. That's what we're having a public hearing for. And our department does abutters in, across the street. But Ellen approves my list. She looks at it. Okay,
You do the newspaper too.
in the newspaper, yeah.
Okay, is there any other business
Well, no,
that we
you just
need?
need to vote on that. You
Pardon?
need to make a motion to do that public
For
hearing.
the public hearing, thank
And
you.
you set the time for the next meeting.
All right. Can I get a motion to have that public hearing on the 14th?
I make a motion to, Joanne?
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Okay. Make a motion to have a public hearing on the RM, site plan on July 17th?
14th.
July 14th. At what time?
You can start your 7 PM
7
and then
p.m.?
go to your regular monthly if you want.
Okay.
So Should that be for the site plan and the special use permit?
Let me get a second.
Let's just get through the, yeah, sorry.
May I have a second?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Clifford Bufo, Art Christie, Joanne Kalb,
Yes.
John Horn,
Yeah.
Ellen Shiner, Sam Spada,
Yes?
Vivian Welton.
Yes.
Okay, what was your question?
I was saying, isn't the public hearing for the special use permit also, or will that be a separate?
Yeah, it's the,
Okay, for both.
It's
Yeah.
wrong.
Okay, and then we also going to be able to refer it to the Orange, to the Dutchess County Plan, to the Ulster County Plan?
well, that's what I was gonna ask him next, yeah. We should.
And that's something that's outside of
But
the
you won't
meeting, you need
have-
me to sign off on something, this, so it
Yeah,
gets
but
going?
you we make the motion typically to refer to county.
Okay.
So you go ahead and do that.
Shall we refer? Can I get a motion?
I move that we refer the site plan and special use permit for Orem to the county.
Second? Anyone?
Okay. Clifford Bufo, Art Christie, Joanne Kalb,
Yes.
John Horn,
Yes.
Alan Shiner, Sam Spada,
Yes?
Vivian Welton.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I did already. You can sign it later.
No, I appreciate that, I want
Yeah.
to follow the protocol.
Is it?
And then the neg deck needs to be distributed to all involved agencies, put
Yeah.
in the E and B.
Yeah. We won't, yeah, the neg deck goes everywhere.
And who has that action? Is that something you'll be doing, or?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Well, Ellen helps out. But, and then you won't have your county information back before your next meeting unless you have pull.
Well, we might be able to get something.
You may.
Yeah,
Because
see
there's
what-
it's a big month. There's like a gap week. So you might,
Yeah.
no, I don't know.
It's possible, but they meet, it depends too on when
They meet the week before and that's,
Yeah, they meet the first Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, it's gonna be,
Yeah.
that'll be.
but we might have an informal one,
Be the
which we've
7th,
had
yeah.
before,
Yeah, it's seven.
just to help.
So sometimes the county planning department can be asked, if there's a pending meeting, they can be asked to get the written opinion.
Okay,
And I'm not sure if they always do that, but we can sign that.
okay.
Since it's the county planning, we're going to see it.
I know. You all know somebody. Okay,
Is there any other business regarding Orem for tonight?
no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Very much. Have a good night.
Skip on out of here too.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
So that was old business?
That's it. That's everything on the agenda.
Does anybody have new business?
I'm scared to even stand up. I might pass out.
I'm going to follow the agenda. Does anybody have other business?
Anybody have anything to say about anything?
And finally, is there a county liaison report that you'd like to make, Vivian?
No,
Not at this time.
Okay.
yeah, sorry, that's still on there.
So I believe I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You just made it known.
I guess you made the motion.
Let's go home.
Seems that way.
You're allowed to make the motion, I think.
Yeah, I wasn't certain about that.
I know. I think you can though. All right.
But the chair can always refer to the members.
Yes, I've noticed that, yeah.
But adjourning, I think, can be your prerogative.
Okay. That's it.
That
Yeah.
went a lot quicker than I thought it
Me
would,
too.
considering how much we had to go through.
I think we have to
Yes.
keep the heat in the room like this and we'll move fast. Okay. So before you leave. And it's amazing.
Thank you. Sarah? Yeah.
Hey, yeah. But I have a million things for you to sign before we melt. We're all here. She rolls live until we're all out of the room because of quorum. So anything you want to say? On TV. Yeah, a million things. I have it all right here. Everything that was discussed tonight. Okay. So this is your county referral for Orem, and you can sign there, and there, I'm listed, is what you.
Sign here?
Yes, right
Are you busy these days? There's a lot of development in this area, it seems like.
Well, it's either huge development or a lot of
This
small
is the special
development.
permit for
Yeah.
Firelight that like,
You know,
we
there's not
have
much
to do
land
forward
left
as well,
here.
but this is just like
Right.
the county and our.
That's developable, yeah.
Not a lot of new houses.
And you have to sign
Oh,
for it.
really?
So it's all original.
Still, you can't find land.
Yeah. And it's in demand, it's such a
Everything that's
pretty
going on
area.
is like renovations, decks, kitchens.
Everybody's doing that right now. You can't get the building supplies.
Now, this is your Firelight permit. Like, yeah, sign the last page. I just need, one more.
It's nice to actually.
I know.
It's very strange.
It is odd though, yeah.
They don't know what to do half the time. Do I wear it? Do I not wear it?
It's kind of getting used to pulling up to a shop and putting on my mask. I thought,
Yeah, I was well trained. Yeah.
Same one.
Well, good night, everyone. Thank you.
And I guess I'll be in touch, but we don't really have anything in our workshop now, I don't think.
Okay.
For those two?
Right, we just have to send a lot of stuff out in the
Yeah.
next few days.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then the last thing is this board stuff that we just talked about, which is their.
Things that happen.
Yeah. Sign there, special permit, minor referral, and we need to sign this, neg deck. Second to last page is you. This is Warren's neg deck for unlisted action. This is the one that goes to 11 places and is published by the DCC. They publish the neg deck.
And they're my lifeblood, so they come first. It's always close behind, but I need to take care of it. Not to say that I can't do that.
Thank you. Thanks for being here and doing all this.
I'm no brewer, but I do everything.
Great. Thank you, Vivian.
Yeah. Do you watch from home? No. Thank you for your time.
You watch your own meeting?
I'll tell you.
You watch your own meeting?
Used to be a
Come back
private
and what is
community.
my
I'm rebuilding my deck, I'm doing it myself, the guy who's gonna help me have a motorcycle.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys.
2 days out, I come to live my deck, 60 feet long, bigger than due south. Dying. Yeah, because I was talking to somebody today, and they said, it's good weather for tomato.
Oh, yes.
Don't worry, if I decide to run, I'll give you a call.
No, I'm gonna like this in the morning. I know that I'm gonna be in early.
Years ago, when I
don't
was
want
at
to.
my house, on the west side,
Would you mind taking in those two folders? Yeah, if you don't mind.
put a deck, it was like, it was really on the deck, coming on the west side of the house. And I don't know what that is, I decided to restate.
I have a seminar from 9 to 12. The same thing on Friday.
We'll try fast, I bet.
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian.
Or I have a deck now.
So there's a gap week for workshop.
I'm gonna do it last year, but I just.
Not next year,
The price of lumber
the
last
next
year.
week off, the workshop. No, it's just the last.
That's the last one.
Yeah.
I got first world problems.
Right, it's my first time thinking about it. There's a floor that is fixed Wednesday.
Yes.
Technician finds out, yes.
That's all.
Yeah, there you go.
Telling, well, I can do the show.
Yeah, if you send an email,
I'll send an email.
keep it straight
I think I
every
have
night.
to take the horses inside.
And I love it.
But because of,